Okay, let's dive right into this explainer and tackle a career-defining skill that, honestly, almost nobody teaches you. Think about it. We spend years, literally years, learning the hard skills to do our jobs, but we spend almost zero time learning how to effectively manage the people who actually oversee our work. Today, we're going to break down the highly misunderstood concept of managing up. And let's be clear right out of the gate, this is not about manipulation or playing dirty office politics. It's simply about taking proactive control of your absolutely most important professional relationship.
People don't quit a job. They quit a boss. We've all heard this famous adage, right? And it perfectly captures that deep, relatable frustration of dealing with a difficult, overwhelmed, or completely disconnected manager. When that relationship goes awry, it is incredibly easy to just throw your hands up and foist all the blame onto the boss. But doing that is actually a massive oversimplification. And worse, it totally takes away your own agency. Just like any relationship in life, the dynamic you have with your manager is a two-way street.
Look at the massive disconnect happening in our offices right now. A shocking 77% of employees are working without a clear understanding of what actually matters to their company. That means more than 3/4 of us are basically operating in a vacuum, completely disconnected from the broader strategic vision. I mean, if you don't know the goals, how can you possibly support your manager in achieving them?
So this brings us to a total paradigm shift. What if you stopped waiting for your manager to perfectly guide you, and instead, you started guiding the relationship? We really need to strip away those negative myths about sucking up. Managing up is an exercise in radical empathy and motivation. It's about deeply understanding your manager's goals, figuring out their communication style, and recognizing their unique pressures. Once you get that, you can adapt the way you work to help both of you succeed.
Think about the fundamental difference here. Managing down is what we typically think of when we hear the word management. Delegating tasks, setting expectations, and coaching subordinates. But managing up, that's a whole different ballgame. It's a mutual partnership. It is about aligning your goals, anticipating your boss's needs before they even have to ask, and influencing outcomes without actually having any formal authority. It transforms you from just being an order taker into a real strategic partner.
Let's move into phase 1 of our playbook, alignment and becoming a strategic partner. Because you absolutely cannot add value if you're running at full speed in the wrong direction. This phase is all about building your baseline relationship.
To truly influence your boss, you need to utilize what experts call two-level thinking. This simply means understanding what matters to them and, crucially, what matters to their boss. What specific results is your manager accountable for? What kind of pain do they desperately need to avoid? When you position your daily work to actively support those broader, two-levels-up organizational goals, you instantly become indispensable.
But how do you actually figure out what matters to them? Well, instead of guessing, you ask. Take these exact proactive discovery questions into your next one-on-one and politely investigate their world. Asking things like, what is keeping you awake at night? Or how is your performance genuinely measured? Shows that you actually care about their success. It uncovers their true priorities and all those hidden stressors they're juggling behind the scenes.
Consider the stark contrast between a bad ask and a good ask when you apply that alignment to your daily communication. A bad ask focuses entirely on your local problem. My team is burned out. But a good ask, that connects your problem directly to the manager's two-level goals. Phrasing your issue around their strategic objectives, like client retention for instance, immediately turns you from a complainer into a solutions-oriented partner. You end up solving your problem by protecting their priorities. It's brilliant.
Okay, with alignment locked in, let's jump to phase 2, communication and mastering your delivery. Because having the right idea means absolutely nothing if your manager doesn't hear it in the way you intended.
Keep this fascinating concept from the startup world in mind. The rule of 7 dippings. Basically, it means that any sufficiently complex or abstract idea takes multiple casual exposures before your manager will fully internalize it. Don't hoard your big ideas until you have a perfect, polished presentation. Leave a breadcrumb trail. Drop the idea casually a few times over a few weeks, giving your manager the breathing room they need to process it before you make the official pitch.
Now, what if you have a totally hands-off manager? Try using this specific ratio to grab their attention. Top product managers actually recommend spending only about 15% of your update time stating your wins and using the remaining massive 85% to share your specific challenges. Hands-off managers generally want to know you're doing okay, but their main role is to unblock you. So, give them the chance to give feedback on your challenges. It constructively pulls them right back into your process. You can take complete control of your one-on-ones simply by owning the agenda. Never walk into a meeting with your boss empty-handed, just sitting there waiting for them to lead. Create a documented, shared agenda beforehand. Hit your recent accomplishments, state your top priority for the week, flag your blockers, and always touch on your own development. This creates a really efficient self-serve update strategy instead of a random meandering status chat.
Moving right along to Phase 3, navigating friction. This is all about pushing back and giving feedback. Because let's be real, you won't always agree with your boss, and you need to know exactly how to handle that pushback with style and grace. When you are completely overloaded, use the say yes to say no technique. If your boss hands you an impossible task, a direct no just feels dismissive. Instead, affirm their underlying goal. Say something like, I really want to support this. However, adding it right now delays our critical Q1 project. How should we adjust the timeline? See what you did there? You clearly expose the trade-offs and offer a constructive alternative, which forces them to sit down and help you prioritize.
But what if you actually need to give your manager critical feedback? Well, first, always ask for permission to share an observation. This naturally lowers their defenses. Then use this exact objective three-step framework, the SBI model. State the specific situation, describe the objective behavior you witnessed, and explain the impact it had on the team or the project. For example, instead of saying, you always interrupt me, it becomes, in yesterday's meeting, when you talked over my presentation, it confused the client. It completely removes emotion and personal attacks, focusing purely on shared success.
Finally, let's look at the payoff, where we reap the career rewards. Because managing up isn't just a nice favor you're doing for your boss. It is a massive accelerator for your own career trajectory.
The sheer scale of the benefit here is incredible. The data shows that employees working under a high-performing leader are 4.5 times more likely to be high-performing themselves. By managing up, you are actively helping your boss become that high-performing leader. And their success? It directly paves the runway for your own success.
By taking agency and actively removing the roadblocks for your boss, the return on investment is undeniable. You lighten their crushing overload, which naturally improves their mood and availability. You elevate your own performance ratings because you're totally aligned with what they actually value. You cultivate deep psychological safety, meaning you can take calculated risks. And honestly, you eliminate those nasty surprises that just ruin team morale.
So I'm going to leave you with an immediate homework assignment to transform your working relationship starting today. Really think about it. What are your manager's top 3 priorities right now? If you don't know the answer to that with 100% certainty, well, that is your very first step. Go ask them, get aligned, and start managing up. It is absolutely the most powerful career skill you'll ever master.